Welcome to the Green Living Gurus podcast. I am here today with Claudia-Sam, can't afford Salve. Hi, Claudia. How are you?
Hello. Yeah, I'm great, Therese. Thank you so much. How are you?
Very well. Claudia is in Montreal and I am in Buffalo, New York. And we are here today and we have a lot of energy, and Claudia is going to take us through some really cool things that she does in her practice. And we're going to be talking about the top 3 ways to practice self-care without adding anything on your to-do list. And I know we all have I have to-do lists like all over the place, but and it's always great to take self-care. So I'm so happy to have you here today. If you can give our listeners a little bit of background on yourself so they understand who you are, and then we can get into the nitty-gritty of all the great things you have here to tell us today.
Oh, thank you so much. Well, just as a brief intro, I'm a soul coach, and I work with driven women who feel unfulfilled, who've burnt out, who are pretty much stuck with where they're at in life, and they've never actually stopped to care for themselves. And I support them to master their self-care, to clarify their path to purpose, and become their own inner guide. And I do that using my tune-in method.
Tunein method. Okay, I read about that on your website. I was very intrigued by that. Can you fill us in a little bit more on how that works?
Yes, well, the tune-in method is comprised of 3 categories. It starts with balance, because the foundation of our health is not only on a physical level, but it's all about balancing the mental, emotional, and physical health. So we touch on that in the first part of the tune-in framework. We then move on to connect, in which we really find out and connect to what our values are, why we're here, what can we really align with that no longer serves us, for example. Because just quickly overview, my clients, they say yes to a lot of things that don't uplift them, instead of saying no and setting those boundaries. So in Connect, we really work on those boundary setting and really work on living a life that is in alignment with your values and what your needs are. And then the last part of the tune-in framework is trust. And that's all about your intuition and feeling good by making decisions from the heart space instead of the head and all those, the pros and cons lists, and going with what makes sense. But instead just trusting that you are supported by the universe, that you are supported by your intuition, and that you just have to trust and listen to that voice inside.
I love that. And I can tell your passion for this. It's wonderful. And you've been doing it. Have you been doing this for a while?
It's actually new, because I was in corporate, which maybe I can say a little bit about how I actually came to be a soul coach. Because I was working in corporate. I was so busy. Like, busy was my last name, and I'm sure many women have that as a last name as well, because
right.
I mean, I used to pride myself on having a schedule so organized and having everything on the to-do list, like making sure I hit the nail on everything. And if I had a Friday or a Saturday night with nothing planned, I'd freak out. But then one summer, I did 180 hours of overtime. And I was not compensated.
Oh my Lord.
Yeah. So I realized, you know what? I'm just a number, and I don't want to keep working for a business who doesn't value me as much as I want to be valued. And so I thought that changing jobs for another corporate job would help me. But in the end, my body, which is part of my balance of the tune-in framework, right, my body started shutting down. I had panic attacks. My chest was constricted. My throat, like my breath was very irregular. And I just had so much pressure on my shoulders of wanting to do things perfectly my whole life. And so I became a soul coach because my friends actually wanted me to coach them. And that's how it changed. I actually also have 2 yoga teacher trainings, but so I started coaching in my yoga classes to my students.
That's wonderful. And if you hear some noise in the background, I apologize, but the dogs, they're playing. They sleep most of the day and now they decide to play. But
That's
You
good. They're
must
green
you
gurus
must be
too.
sending them some energy through the session, because they're I don't know if you can hear them. They're cracking me up down here, and they're so funny. They're very cute. So that's a good thing.
You should
Okay.
share a picture on the podcast page so people see the dogs at the same time.
They're wrestling down here. My feet are going like this anyway. It's all okay. We love animals. So what brought you to being a coach for women to master their self-care and to clarify their soul purpose? And is it just women, or do you also do men?
Yeah, so I mainly work with women because I really believe in connecting with our menstrual cycle as well, and being intuitive to listen to our bodies. So, well, I'm a woman, so it feels more comfortable
Of course,
for
that's
me.
fine.
Well, like I mentioned, the panic attacks and the corporate lifestyle and really pushed me to realize that basically I just needed to listen to it. So my first yoga teacher training, I did it in Montreal over a 9-month period. And then I actually lived in Nepal, and I did my second yoga teacher training there in Nepal. And I went back to teach in Nepal. So I grew into this yogi who was able or had to face her emotions in a way that I wouldn't have chosen to do it this way, secluding yourself from society and having to wake up with the sun and, have no internet most of the time and wake up with candles, and all to say that lifestyle has helped me to develop a routine for myself that is nurturing and that is in rhythm with nature. And as much as I might have been like a push and pull, love and hate kind of relationship with the Nepal experience at first, it really shaped me into the woman that I am today. And it shaped me into the yoga teacher and the coach that I am, because I feel like I was able to gain perspective. Also because I've traveled all over the world and was able to teach in Nepal, in New Zealand, in Western Canada. And I was able to meet women from everywhere. And I realized that we have a lot in common. We all have this need for perfection, this need to showcase that from the outside, we're really doing well. But from the inside, it's, excuse me the term, it's a shit show. So yeah. I wanted to help women tune into that and help women realize that they don't have to stay in a job that makes them feel miserable and makes them do overtime and doesn't value them, because they're worth so much more. So that's what I help them to figure out and feel into.
That's incredible. And going through my mind, I think about right now and the change and the shift in so many women's lives, whether your work life and you all of a sudden are working at home, or if you're a mother and you're at home and you're trying to take care of your kids and you also have to become a teacher. There's got to be a lot of people out there that could probably use a lot of soul coaching right now.
It's so true, right? This time, this pandemic has shown us, that's my belief anyway, that we are more important than the busy lifestyle we're leading every day outside of this pandemic, and that now we have to face ourselves. We have to put the mirror towards us for real, but inside, right? And really feel into what is happening. Like, how am I, right? Here in our American and Canadian culture, the how are you question comes forth so often, but we never really truly ask ourselves.
Or answer it
with the truth, right?
Yeah. I know for myself, the past 9 months has been a huge transition just for me, because I was always yes, yes, yes. And now I say I've said no to everything, and my focus is on my new career in the wellness platform industry. So I get it. I know that, I forced myself to do it. I know a lot of people that probably could use a lot more of that. And so, all right. So what is self-care to you?
Well, so I actually listened to your podcast with Hannah Levin. It was number 6, I believe. And she was saying that Ayurveda is a lifestyle. And I believe that self-care is a lifestyle too. I remember Hannah saying that there are functions in our body that need to keep rolling, like our digestion, our poop, and that if they're not supported, we're in trouble. Well, it's really the same thing with being happy and fulfilled and on purpose and joyful and calm and on track. And I believe that self-care brings all of those positive feelings into our life, and that self-care is the foundation. So we're going to talk about the 3 ways that women can practice self-care. Women and men, of course, can practice self-care, and everyone who identifies as women or men or other, no problem, of course, any human basically. And we're going to talk about those 3 ways that we can practice self-care without adding anything on our to-do list. And that will reinforce what self-care is to me.
So let's talk about those 3. I'm very excited to talk about them. And
yes.
Let's hear what they are, the top 3.
Let's first talk about, Therese, about how it really is about changing our perspective, or rather it's about perspective, because self-care, if for you who's listening, self-care is a chore, then it means that we might not understand the value of it that well. Okay. And I do want to say that I'm not here to convince the listeners that caring for themselves is important, because it really is your choice, right? You have to make this choice of, do I want to put myself on my to-do list or not? Because I can't make that choice for you. And, we can learn and learn and learn, but if we don't apply what we've learned and really put ourselves on that priority list, then nothing will change. So I just want to say that it can take a perspective shift, and also be gentle with yourself. So the tips I'm going to share are tips that you can apply, but you can also take them one at a time. So the first part to self-care, without adding anything on our to-do list, is being aware of the body, and why and how. So being aware of the body is free, and it takes no time, and you don't have to put a little box on your to-do list and cross it off, because it happens throughout the day. For example, tension in the shoulders, in the neck, in the head. We all experience headaches, right? Well, if we have headaches, so this is something I've come to realize, because I also have had a lot of headaches in my life. Imagine this, like pressing both of your hands on your head, on the side of your temples. That's creating pressure. That creates the tension in the head, the headache. Well, what if in the other sense of the meaning of headache, it was about putting pressure on yourself? So I realized that the headaches meant I was pressuring myself to do things right again, to get to everyone else's expectations of us, to do things for yesterday, because we're so afraid that we'll be judged if we don't do it on time or perfectly. So the headache can be putting pressure on yourself, but so instead of taking a pill for the headache to go, what about realizing or getting to the root of that pressure? What happens? What are we pressured about? So in order to be aware of your body, my number 1 go-to is the breath. And it might sound really simple and like, well, I've heard this before, but do you do it? The breath allows us to get into the body. And so if that's okay with you, Therese, we can take 3 deep breaths right now.
Yes. Through the mouth?
No.
Through the nose.
Through the nose.
Okay,
So
that's
I will guide you. So close your eyes and make sure you're sitting where you feel anchored, whether it's in your feet or in your seat, and your spine is tall. So you're not leaning into your chair. You're just feeling supported by your seat, and your shoulders are relaxed away from the ears. And your eyes are closed again. Your gaze is turned inward. And just come to notice if your breath, do you naturally breathe through the mouth or through the nose? Just notice that. And now I invite you to close the mouth if it's not already closed, and breathe in through your nose. Send the breath down into the belly. Make the belly expand. No more sucking in the belly. Then exhale, bring the belly in. Again, inhale and inflate the belly, then rise the breath to the chest. And exhale, the chest in, and then the belly. Let's take one more. Inhale through the breath, through the nose. And exhale, lower the shoulders even more. Sitting in your seat, being where you are. And let's take just this one moment with the 3 breaths to notice if there's anywhere in your body that feels tense. Just notice how your body or where in your body you're getting a message. And open your eyes. So, of course, this is just part 1 of the exercise. But how does that feel?
Relaxing.
Right? Relaxing. And 3 breaths, you can do that while you're in line at the grocery store.
Right.
You know, maybe not closing your eyes while you're driving, but taking big breaths while we're stuck in traffic could be a great idea.
Great idea.
So really being aware of the body is a form of self-care because it prevents illness and it helps you get to the root cause so that you can no longer make headaches, for example, something you identify with, and that becomes your reality and just who you are. The number 2 way that we can practice self-care without adding anything on our to-do list or it feeling like a chore is shifting the mindset. Again, it's free and it can happen at any time. So for example, when we look at the to-do list, there's often this task that says, I need to do this, or in our mind anyway, I need to do this, or I should do this, or I have to. So the shoulds, the have tos, the need to, those are all repetitive thoughts that we identify with, that we use as our jargon, if that's even a word, of the way we talk about things. So what that creates is an energetic vibration of, I hate this task is not serving me. It's just lowering my energy. It's not uplifting it. So, you know, what kind of energy vibration are we even putting out there before the task is even started? So just noticing that is a huge step. And here's, you know, how I mentioned before to be gentle with yourself, because it's not about then judging yourself for every piece of, I'm not good enough because I didn't do this task on time, or I should have done it and I didn't do it. It's not about bashing yourself once you notice it, but just notice from a distance. And then once the noticing is done, then you get to go at the root cause. You get to see, okay, well, that's the kind of thinking that's happening inside my head. Yes, there's this other voice, and it's the ego mind. There's also the heart voice, but the ego mind, the I should have, the I could have, the I need to, all of these thoughts, they speak much louder than the intuition and the heart voice because we've been trained that way. You know, we go to school and we're trained to we're graded on how well we perform at a task, at a test. So, excuse me. So in terms of shifting your mindset, it's just noticing those thoughts and asking yourself, do I want those thoughts or do I want to change them? And which ones would serve me well? Right? Does that make sense to you, Therese?
Absolutely.
All right. So the second way to practice self-care without yes?
Are we on the third?
Oh yeah, we are on the third. All right. The third way that we can practice self-care without adding anything chore-like on our to-do list is, all right, ladies, expressing or feeling your emotions. We are so good at piling them up, stifling them, and exploding in places we don't feel safe, like at work, right? And just, right, we bottle them up, and then we arrive at this place where we feel triggered by other people, and then we have communication breakdowns because we're surrounded with people who have nothing to do with how we feel, because it's all happening inside of us, but they get it. They receive all the garbage. So instead of exploding at work or in a place where it doesn't feel safe, or instead of bottling them up, it really is about, for example, so step 1 or the number 1 way to practice self-care was to notice or be aware of your body. So for example, the headache. Then the second part was shifting the mindset. So if the thoughts around the headache are every thought that in this sense will provoke the headache, pardon me, the thoughts that would provoke the headache, if we're able to shift them to a more positive and hopeful or a positive and hopeful way to see them, then when the emotion is there, because we were able to trace it back to the root cause, there is always an emotion. And sometimes it doesn't have to be in that order. Sometimes we notice the emotion first. Sometimes we mention the body, we notice the body sensation first, or the thought. It really depends. But to live the emotion. And how do we live the emotion? We go in a place where we feel safe. It can be your closet. I have my office is also my yoga and meditation space. And I created myself a little altar. And I go to that. It's my reminder to tune in to myself and to feel into how I'm feeling and to give myself that time and that space, and know that by setting an intention of how you want the emotional release to go. For example, just yesterday, or actually over the weekend, I was, I had a cry fest. I sat in my altar. Something was up. I didn't know what it was. I sat with it. And I kept asking myself the how are you question, but the how are you really? And I let the words come through and I cried. And can I tell you that I felt so free after that? Just so free.
Let it go.
Yeah. So yeah, it might be 20 minutes of being uncomfortable at the beginning if you're not used to doing this. But the more you do it, it's like flexing this muscle of emotional intelligence. And, balancing, being aware of your body, shifting your mindset and feeling into your emotions is really part of the balance part of my tune-in framework. And I feel like that is the foundational part, prioritizing yourself, learning these foundational aspects of who you are will help you to connect to why you're here, to your values, and will help you to live a purposeful and fulfilled life.
So those are 3 easy ways for women to practice self-care, and can do it anytime throughout the entire day, right?
Yeah, exactly. Because okay, the emotions, you might not want to cry, when you feel like you're not going to be able to be so vulnerable with yourself. So
Right.
maybe that's something you need to set a little bit of focused, intentional time to do. But otherwise, just noticing your emotion is something you can do at any time. And it doesn't have to be on your to-do list. Right.
So what happens, or do you get comments from women that say they don't have extra time, or how do they learn how to practice self-care?
Yeah.
You probably experienced that with them, right?
Oh, for sure. There's not enough time. Are you kidding? Like, where am I going to find time for self-care? Because here's a misconception. Self-care is not, or rather women, I say women because I'm used to working with women, but please, I do apologize. We tend to say that self-care is a mani-pedi or a spa day or a massage.
Right.
But that's not what it's about. You just learned 3 foundational ways to practice self-care in your day-to-day that are not costing you money, that are not costing you time. They are costing you energy. But so is the task that you said yes to that doesn't uplift you. That's energy. Going to family gatherings that the people don't share the same values as you and they drain your energy, saying yes to like 3 of those a week is energy leakage as well. So first, be gentle with yourself, because if you think I have no time, it's all about your willingness to take even the 3 breaths. That took a minute. So if you are willing to prioritize in yourself and put yourself at the top of your to-do list, be gentle with yourself. Know that it's not going to happen overnight, but if you have the willingness, then everything will unfold and everything always works out.
The willingness, that's the most important thing, right? That you can take that step to self-care.
Yeah. We're so important. Like, do we really want to get at the end of our lives regretting that we didn't do things in accordance to what we really wanted because we just wanted to please other people?
Right.
No.
So you help a lot of women, and our listeners might be saying, well, how can she help me slow down or de-stress with your guidance? What is your program, or what do you have that you offer women?
Oh, thank you so much for asking. Actually, what is happening right now is a free 5-day self-care challenge. It's called Slow Down and De-Stress. And I know that the podcast might be still running, and that free challenge might have happened, but I am offering often some free offerings like this to help you slow down and de-stress, because I really believe it should be accessible to everyone. So that is happening November 2nd to 6th. And I know, Therese, you will put the link in the...
Yes, of course I will.
On the podcast page. But otherwise, it's Claudia-Sam And then for the free challenge, it would be /free challenge. And so that's my free offering. And it's a powerful way to launch my Master Your Self-Care group program, which is really meant for women who don't have enough time. They think they don't have enough time. They feel guilty for prioritizing themselves. They feel selfish, or they've learned all their lives that prioritizing themselves is selfish. And so there's this belief that needs to detach from them. So Master Your Self-Care is a way to empower each other as a community to take baby steps in making ourselves a priority, putting ourselves on the to-do list without feeling crunched for time, and by it becoming a habit that we can stick to. Because I know many women also will start these new habits, but then after a week, they're like, oh, it's too hard. But
Right.
no, that's why a group program, because you get the accountability. So Master Your Self-Care is also something you can look for and read about on Claudia-Sam So let me talk about that for now.
Yeah,
but if
please.
ever you're curious,
Yes,
go on my website.
Slow down and de-stress, right?
Yes, that's the free challenge.
That's a free challenge. I'm looking at this right now, just so there was one other thing that stood out to me. Oh, I'd love to live life to your fullest potential without ever burning out again.
Hell yes.
These are some things that when you go to her website and you can see what she has to offer, she's got so much, and it's just wonderful to hear all this, because I know so many women that could use this transformation and having you help them through the process.
Yeah, thank you. Because so this is my group offering, but I do also offer one-on-one, which is more in depth of the tune-in program. So like I mentioned at the beginning, and then we go through this transformation in a 3-month timeline. So yeah.
So, and question, it's all done virtual, obviously.
Yes.
Everything
Mm-hmm.
these days.
Mm-hmm.
And how long is the program for?
So Master Your Self-Care will be running through December and January. So it'll be an amazing way to let go of that chaotic 2020 and really set intentions to walk into 2021 as this new version of you amidst chaos, through losing control, but through gaining control of our inner world. So it's actually 9 weeks of a group program.
That's great. And do you have a Facebook group page too? I can
Yes.
hear everybody too. Okay, so I'll post that too when I'll get all that information out. I do it all the time. So, and I know you're on Instagram as well, so I'll make sure I have that on there as well. Is there anything else you'd like to say in closing?
Oh, well, I'm just so grateful for the Green Living Gurus. I love that name, and I'm so for it, because green, not just our environment, but how we fill our bodies. And, a green smoothie is my go-to thing. It's really part of my lifestyle as well. And I'm just very grateful for the opportunity to speak with you, to learn from you, and to meet you, dear listener. And indeed, my Facebook group is You Have It In You, and it's a great place for women to, feel into their purpose, feel into who they are, and can, yes, reach their fullest potential without ever burning out again. So thank you so much, Therese.
You're welcome. And thank you so much for coming on, Claudia. And I look forward to connecting with you again sometime soon.
Thank you so much.
All right. Take care.
Bye. You too.